Hey guys, it's been a while. So I think I've not done a video for about a year and so, but as I've said in my previous videos, I'm not that dedicated to this, and my subscribers have been sort of like that, but you know, I've got a lot of things in life. I started a new job back in July 2017, which I'm really enjoying. Had a few shifty moments here and there, but okay. I went to China for a bit, and I'm going back there this year. And also, I did a competition and I won some gold medals just recently, and I'm very happy, but I'm taking more into account now that I need to change the way I do everything all the time. It's really hard, and I know at times it can seem like as if it's being pressured on you, but the more pressure that gets on you, it's not an excuse to just stop. You know, you got to keep going with things in general anyway, not just with certain things, but with just everything. But anyway, I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about something that's been on my mind quite a lot lately, and in fact probably for about the past month, particularly with a guy called Doug Walker. And this is a guy who I've actually met in real life. He is the creator of The Nostalgia Critic, and that show's been going on for about 11 years. He is also he's also done bum reviews, he's done Ask That Guy with the Glasses, Video Game Confessions, and yes, he did Melvin. Love him or hate him, I particularly don't care, but I've been a fan, but believe it or not, I've been a fan of him since 2011, early 2011. I thought it was very interesting watching someone like him, very funny, very comedic timed. I mean, he's not professional or anything, but he's very, when he talks about film, particularly more with his earlier stuff, he really knows what he's talking about when it comes to simple ways of approaching film and actually talking about how cinema is portrayed. And he got it a lot from Siskel and Ebert, and he even talked about it in one of his reviews, and he really knows and really has a passion for what he's talking about, and I respect that completely. So I met him back in 2013, so this was I was a fan of him 2 years onwards at that point. In 2012, he hung up the tie, he hung up the hat and the jacket because he wanted to try other things. All power to him, but he also felt that if demo reel didn't work, he would have to go back to Nostalgia Critic, and actually Nostalgia Critic became immensely more successful than it did previously. In fact, the recognition was not only there, but people were watching him more. Corey Taylor, one of my favorite vocal artists in the world. I love Corey Taylor. I love Slipknot, my third favorite band of all time. Even became a fan of him, and he had the privilege to meet him, which is awesome, and I'm jealous as hell, seriously. So yeah, back in 2013 I met him, and I met him back in Leicester, and I got a copy of one of his DVDs. I can't exactly remember what was on there, but I got a few Video Game Confessions, I think I got a Nostalgia Critic review, and I also got his review of Bebe's Kids, the video game. Awful game, awful game. But yeah, I mean, I just kept watching him every week, and there wasn't a time where I wasn't really watching him. Up until now. Now, there's been a lot of things going on lately about #ChangeTheChannel. Now, for the past few months, there's been a lot of talk about Channel Awesome. And actually, no, a few years back, there have been talks about problems that have been going on with Channel Awesome, which was originally called That Guy with the Glasses. I only knew about Mike Machad and the kind of person he is up until a month ago, literally just a month ago. And as I've gotten older, I've become somewhat good at reading people's emotions, or just seeing the kind of person that they are by really looking at it properly. I know that sounds dumb, but it's kind of like looking at someone's body language. I can tell just by looking at Mike Machad that he is scum. Like, he is honest to God scum, and from the first moment I ever looked and glanced at this guy, I hated him. So where is this going? So, there is a document, a 700-page document. I don't exactly know how much, but I've read a bit of it. I've especially read Alison Pregler's comment on this. There were problems with the other producers of Channel Awesome, with Doug, with Rob Walker, and Mike Machado. And there's also been problems with Mike Ellis, who was one of the other sort of CEOs of that channel, but he was booted off for sexual harassment. So basically, I never thought that this could happen, but then again, you never really know what goes on behind the scenes, because in most places, like in Hollywood, like with the whole Harvey Weinstein thing going on, like, you wouldn't have thought that it would happen with Doug, or anything involving Channel Awesome, because when I met Doug Walker, and there's a reason why I talked about meeting him, he seemed okay. Like, he seemed very much a nice guy, and I don't, like, judging by what I see now, I don't think he's a terrible person overall. I do think there is a narcissistic, ignorant side to him, and everyone has that kind of thing a little bit. Everyone has a little bit of ego to hide in them. You never know, I could have some hiding in me right now, but ego is based on not letting things go, or a fear of something, or kind of putting yourself in there, just kind of going, no, I refuse to do that kind of thing, or I won't let such and such happen. It comes in different shapes and sizes, and it also is disguised in different ways. So for many years, that guy with the glasses has always been solely originated for Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic. It's basically the Doug Show. The Doug Show is about him, and as long as he gets the talent, as long as he gets the recognition, these other producers don't mean squat to them, literally. I mean, they keep making profit off of Doug Walker, and he must be stinking filthy rich at this point. I mean, basically, a lot of the complaints have been revolved around comments or things that were said hurtful, and bad management, really poor management, and also really poor organizational skills, and, you know, just overall, just things that they don't learn from. And there's a thing when you're learning from, let's say speech, for example. If you're learning how to speak, when a child learns how to speak, it takes a parent or a carer to really help them get into that mindset, to really push themselves at a point where they understand things better. And this continues with other things as you're an adult. I mean, I'm in my early 20s, and I'll be in my mid-20s at some point, but there are still things that I'm learning about myself. Like, there are so many things that you could improve yourself on. The problem with people like Doug, and the problem with people like Mike Machado is another problem, but Doug, I'm convinced that he is ignorant in some way. Like, I'm not saying I hate him, but there are things that he hasn't learned from, and one of them is basically not putting other people in position or looking out for other people. I mean, in some of the making of like Suburban Nights or Kikassia, he hasn't even looked out once for, like, the guy who played Malachite, I can't remember his name, martial artist, he lands pretty badly. I mean, he does a backflip and he lands on the back of his neck. He could have died. No, if I was Doug, I would have gone in there and I would have been like, hey, dude, are you okay? Like, I would have done more than that. I'm first aid trained, so I have to do that. It's my job to do that, and not just because I'm first aid trained, but because I feel that I have to step in and do something about it. I'm not going to leave something, and you don't leave something because people have made complaints about you. What does he do? He's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable about doing that. This guy has problems, okay? This guy has some serious issues with trying to come out and say these things. Either he's not been taught to do that, or he doesn't care enough to do that. Like, he's probably thinking, nostalgia critic, you know, when am I going to do this next review? You're like, oh, I'm doing so much in my life. Like, these producers on this channel, they were on this channel, but most of them are pretty much left. There's only 2 of them left. But like Alison, for example, like there are so many things that I've heard about her. Like they were doing a Shut Up and Talk interview with her, which never aired, and there's a reason why it never aired, and I can tell. There have been things said by Mike Machad and Doug that she found very hurtful. And I find it shocking. Like, Mike is a bad issue, but Doug was just kind of like, oh, okay, I'll look into it, kind of thing. I don't even know what else happened. Like, she never even mentioned once that he tried to calm her down. Like, he was like, you know, oh, I'm very sorry that you had to go through that. Let me see what's happened, and I'll try and sort it out. But he says, I'll look into it. That's bad. I'm sorry. I can't even find the word for it. I'm so sorry, guys. You don't just do that. You don't just say, I'll look into it. And what does he do? He comes back later and says, we are limiting the mid-rolls that we have. And Alison says, well, I think you're overstepping your boundaries a little bit. Doug says, well, I disagree. Where does that come from? I mean, I don't understand where you go from being a good guy to somewhat you claiming that you are actually looking out for people when all you really care about is your profit and your business. And by the way, you are bad at profiting your business just by knowing about this stuff. Like, another example, Lindsay. You didn't look out for her once. Well, I mean, you probably did, but like that scene in To Boldly Flee, I've only seen it once or twice, but it's very long, and honestly, it's not even that interesting. But the rape scene, I didn't even call it a rape scene, but apparently it was written down as a rape scene from Mecha Linkara, and both her and Linkara went up to Doug and went, we are not comfortable doing this, we don't want to do this, can we change the scene slightly? He changed it in such a way that it might not seem like a rape scene, but it is still technically what a rape scene. That's ignorance, man. That is dangerously arrogant. That just shows that you don't care what other people think. You only care about what you think. And the narcissism goes between when someone says something to you, it's like saying, are you questioning my logic? Look, if you are saying to someone, are you questioning my logic? You can say that if you actually have the goddamn logic. But from as far as I know, you're just a guy in front of a goddamn camera and posting it on the internet, okay? I know I'm doing that right now, but I'm doing this from experience. You don't say things if you don't know how you do it. I don't know what you studied, but Lindsay Ellis has studied film, okay? She actually knows what she's talking about. And in a lot of ways, a lot of things that she explains can be better explained than you, Doug. I'm sorry to say this, but you think the whole purpose of you being on the internet is revolved around you. You think you are the face of the internet? The internet was made before you even thought of the Nostalgia Critic. The internet has been around for a pretty damn long time. Longer than you as the Nostalgia Critic. I mean, it inspired me to see you go in front of those people at that workplace and go, I quit, written on your goddamn chest. Like, I respect you wholeheartedly for that. But somewhere along the line, you let fame get to you, brother. You actually let fame hit you in the face. And that's what made you the narcissistic bastard. It's easy to get into that. It's easy to get an ego when you're going so far in things, and then all of a sudden someone comes up to you and says, like, you're not doing things right. And he goes, what do you mean? I'm doing just fine. Don't tell me what to do. I'm getting paid. Seriously. You have no right to tell me how to do my job. I work very hard to get where I am. Do you know what hard work is? Well, you don't know what to do now, do you? And this is a term that I use for him, okay? So, the past few months, the past month or so, give or take, I don't exactly know how long, but this whole document, so Lindsay complained, Alison complained, Caitlin, Mars Girl complained, I think Linkara, yeah, he did complain, but Holly, who was one of the other producers on the on Channel Awesome, one of the other CEOs, who was the only one who could manage things right. And in the making of Suburban Nights, I bet you anything, behind the scenes, behind the camera, she was saying something to Doug, you know, this is what we need to do. You're approaching it wrong. She was let go, I think, at some point during To Boldly Flee, but she was very ill, and she was doing quite a lot of the work. And honestly, to let her go like that is scum. Not right. It's scum. I don't think you even know the meaning of the word, you know, oh, she was allowed to be let go. Like, that's what it says. That's what's said in the next statement. I mean, I'll get into the statements in a bit. I'm going to try and keep this short, but basically, she was getting ill and she had an operation. So at some point, Mike and Doug let her go. And from what I heard, Doug was the person who was the one deciding factor whether or not she should stay or go. Like, seriously. You don't just let someone go because they're ill and they're not doing things according to your plan. If someone's ill, you get someone to cover. Not once have I heard or even remember of hearing that you got someone to cover your shit. Seriously, you have Rob. Mike, he's a dick, but Doug doesn't even want to get involved with all the business stuff. He doesn't know how to do business. That's why he likes to do what I call the term burying your head in the sand. You do that, I'll go do this. I'm so happy. Oh, did I hear anything? There's a little echo. Oh yeah, and that echo, by the way, is all the producers having a problem, which you can clearly ignore. So she was let go, and then this document was released, I think, well, it was released about a month ago. I keep repeating myself, sorry. So there was an apology. Now, I don't have the full thing with me, and I'm recording with my phone, and I have to look in order to do that, but I want to keep my face pretty. But yeah, sorry. I'm kidding. Basically, it ended with, well, in mid-document, it says, if any of these producers have felt that we've said hurtful things or done any poor management in any way. Now, before I go into what is actually said, if I was writing this document, I would go, I sincerely apologise if I've done anything wrong. I want to move on with what I've done. I want to make this management better, and I seriously do. I know we've had problems in the past. We can improve them. In any kind of future, we can do that. I really do apologise, and that's me being over apologetic, which these guys aren't. What do they say? We sincerely regret that you felt that way. That's not good, guys. It cringes me every time I think about it. And people have been posting YouTube videos, and I heard about this through multiple YouTube videos, and loads of people were saying this stuff, and not once was there a mention from Doug. Malcolm said something, Tamara said something, until about a week later, or a few days later, we get a statement. Not an apology, a statement. Just trying to go over facts and what actually happened. Like, accusation. So accusation is, like, for example, Alison hated being on To Boldly Flee, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And then the fact is, look, there's a video of her saying that she really enjoyed the film. This is how it goes. It goes, I really enjoyed making this film, and I really hope that we get to make another one. Now, every time I kept closing my eyes, what I saw in the video that she was doing, every time she closed her eyes, I could just feel, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, that's what I get. That's the information that I get by looking at that video. She was told to do that. She was clearly told to do that, and if you guys disagree with me, I'm convinced that she was told to do that. And that's bad. That's poor. in a way, that's kind of like being forced to do something against their will, because she's a member of Channel Awesome. Well, she was a member of Channel Awesome at the time, but there wasn't even an apology. The only fault that they admit to is I can't. What was it again? Sorry guys, I'm extremely dyslexic. Was communicate? Yeah, that's it. Communication. I just had it now. Sue me. Was communication. Lack of communication. They go, I do agree that we've had some lack of communication at some point, and it has happened on and on again. We are always trying to improve. What, no apology? Where's my apology? I don't get an apology. None. Ever since I heard about this, the last Nostalgia Critic review I watched was Woody Woodpecker. I've actually seriously stopped watching Doug Walker and Nostalgia Critic altogether. I was maybe at least a little bit tempted to watch their Infinity War review. And by the way, I love that film so much. I've seen it 4 times and I'm going to see it 2 more times. It's easily one of my favourite films of all time, if not probably my favourite film of all time altogether. I love that film. That's going to be another video, by the way. But of all honesty, I'm extremely disappointed in Doug. Like, I'm actually really heartbroken and hurt by this, because this is someone that I've been watching for so long, and it's really sad to actually see that someone like Doug, who actually seems like a nice guy, like, I don't think he's a horrible guy. It just shows, it just shows that you can't really understand what goes on behind closed doors. And it's harder to see with Doug, because from what I've said before, he's kept his head buried in the sand, like literally kind of like this, and it's like, haha, I'm enjoying this world, like, he's in his own world. And when I met him, this is looking back and thinking back to what happened before, what I get information from is, what can I tell about this person? What can I tell that easily clings on to me? Is this person a good person? Is he a bad person? Is he sad? Is she uncomfortable in any way? Is she angry about something? Like, anything. But when I saw Doug, I could tell that he was in his own world, because he's the kind of guy that is always in character, always being the nostalgia critic. Doug Walker, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things going on with his family life as well, and obviously his mother passed away, and I offer my condolences to you on that. This is not an insult. Please do not take this as an insult. You know, I know what it's like to lose a loved one. I do know that. I've lost a few grandparents in my life, and it's very sad. But apart from that, apart from getting deep, I do think that sometimes for a guy who's, 35 or something, he needs to grow up. Like, this kind of thing, you need to say something in regards to what's happened, but his behavior is very unacceptable. Like, it's literally just, I'm not going to say anything because it'll affect my fame. It'll affect everything. The reason why it's affecting your fame more than you think is because you've said nothing in terms of apology and nothing saying, I'm sorry for doing this. Is it really that hard to say sorry for some people? Like, honestly, it just reminds me of all these ignorance that just goes on in the world. Like, through the past few years, I've kind of felt hurt by the fact that people would be ignorant enough to vote certain things. Like with Brexit, for example, or with Donald Trump. That really, really infuriates me, because I don't know who to trust, really. I really don't know who to trust, except for maybe my closest friends or my family, but that's different, or just people who I know I can trust overall. But at the same time, you've got so many ignorant people on the planet, but I didn't expect it would be Doug. I didn't expect that it would be someone who would actually say hurtful things, and actually, it's kind of a shame. Like, I would go into more detail about this, guys, but... And I've watched a lot of videos and I've thought a lot about this. One of my favourite reactions, two of my favourite reactions is Caitlin, Mars Girl, when she read the apology, or the statement, it's bad to call it an apology, a statement, and Alison, and I've started watching more of her videos now. I really love your stuff, by the way. I really like it. Just talking about her experience and really going through what she did, and she was talking about it very calmly because it's something that's really been on her, that's really affected her overall. But I hope she's doing really well for herself, and honestly, some of the videos that she does is really cool, and Mars Girl as well. In fact, I'm getting back more into a lot of the ex-producers, and I'll always watch Angry Joe, man. Angry Joe, like, he's a trooper, man. He just comes in and says, I'm leaving Channel Awesome effective immediately. It's like, that's the guy, man. That's the guy who's gonna say, like, nope, not dealing with this stuff anymore. But it's really sad to see someone like Doug do this, and you just gotta be a man sometimes. You've got to actually think, okay, so I know I'm running a business, but at the same time, these are people who I'm friends with at the same time. Like, there's a difference between being in an act and being in reality. Like, if all honesty, method actors use reality as their source of acting because that's their job and they've been trained specifically to do that. But Doug is doing this off of interest, and he's doing this based on passion. Just having interest and passion doesn't automatically make you a sensational internet celebrity. You have to earn it, and you did earn it. Of all honesty, you earned the subscribers, but you're earning less of them because of all this stuff that's been said about you, bro. Like, you've really got to step back and actually think about this. But your behaviour has been appalling. And I'm going to say something right now about this. One celebrity that I really hate, that I honestly hate with my bitter core, is Kanye West. I cannot stand him. He is a delusional prick, and I think he doesn't deserve the fame that he gets. In fact, he's gotten worse recently. Like, the stuff that he said about slavery being a choice is honestly unacceptable. People are really heavily affected by what he said there. But in the TMZ review, the one guy who came out and actually said something and actually stood up for himself, and for all the stuff that's happened, you can't say that slavery is a choice, because these guys were not slaves by choice. They were forced to become slaves. Okay? I don't know. I can't say anything more about that, and I feel their pain. At least Kanye, in that interview, apologized for what he said. Despite that people still hate him for that, and I still hate him for that too, I can't stand his guts. Doug Walker has not apologized even once. In fact, Mike is the person that does all the work for him. It's like Mike basically wipes his ass. That's basically what he's doing. He's just wiping his ass, and he's just kind of doing like, what movie shall I review next? Oh, wow, what's going on here? Well, I've lost a bunch of subscribers. Stay quiet for a bit. That's the impression I get, and when something really pisses me off, it gets to the point where it's pure ignorance. Like, you've got to really be that dick-headed to do that. But in a way, that's kind of like saying that Doug Walker's more of a dickhead than Kanye, and I don't think he is, but that's the impression that's coming across. You're not apologizing for what you think because you think you're not wrong. You are wrong in a lot of situations. You've only admitted wrong to one thing in your entire life, and that is your communications. Why can't you admit wrong in certain other things? Like being sexist towards other women, or treating them badly, poor management. I know what it's like to be under poor management, okay? I've dealt with it quite recently without mentioning names, but honestly, it's annoying. It is annoying. Do you not understand this? Like, Jesus Christ, I'm kind of mad about this right now, but you've not seen me mad, and you don't have to see me mad. It's okay, don't worry. If I get really mad, it's because I've hit something. I know how to control myself. Like, okay, fine. I'm joking. But, do you see what I mean? Alright, guys, what do you think about this? Have you stopped watching Doug Walker altogether? Are you still watching The Nostalgia Critic? At the moment, I'm not, like, officially done with him, because the thing is, guys on YouTube have talked about this, and they go, this is probably the last time I'll ever talk about him. This will be the only chance that I'll ever talk about him because of how much has gone so far, and how much I can say about it for the matter of it, and there's not much I can say anymore at this point. I mean, I could probably add a few more things, but it'll drag on, but at the moment, I'm just kind of like, I'm not watching him at the moment. I don't feel comfortable watching someone who would say that kind of stuff, and honestly, I'm kind of heartbroken, and I'm really hurt, and I'm very mad, honestly, because I've watched this guy for ages, and the stuff that he's talked about, I've related to it, you know, and it's really sad.